right now. This is happening.
I know. Isn't this fun?
Good times.
Hey, it's Lisa Mitchell, the People Reader, and I am jumping on with my friend Ryan Ahlwardt. And he is formerly of Straight No Chaser, the a cappella group that's toured the world and done amazing things. He's also the area director of HSE Young Life.
Whoop, whoop.
And has been a friend of mine through several lifetimes now. It feels like we've known each other for over a decade now and have had quite a few experiences, a lot of them around performance, right? And since I jam on body language and how to capture an audience and how to have impact with your message, and you do as well in different formats. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how can you use the art of performance to impact someone or to move them to action. What has been your experience with that?
I think music has really been an effective tool to help me open doors for conversation that may not have happened without maybe like a story or a song that has resonated with someone, that has clicked emotionally, that has led them to say, hey, tell me more about why you wrote that, or tell me what's behind that, and then, or tell me your story of just performing with the group and being, on stages everywhere.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you? And so, really, music is part of the story. It's not the entire story, and it's really a helpful bridge and door opener for me.
Yeah.
Or at least it has been, which usually it's the entree point that then leads to a bunch of different
Right.
conversations.
Right.
I feel. Yeah.
So how do you know? Like, I know when I'm giving a keynote or when I'm doing a big training session, I'm always kind of taking the temperature of the audience. How do you, when you're in front of 20,000 people, most of whom already like you and are pretty won over, but how do you keep a temperature? How do you read an audience? How do you know if you're connecting with someone?
It's tricky because it's kind of like a sample size. Like first of all, the last time that I sang in front of 20,000 people was at least over 5 years ago. But you
still got it.
You can't see past 20 rows.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like this giant mass.
Wait, so you mean all those times I have nosebleed seats and I think you're looking at me and
no
waving?
one can see you. But
So
well, you're big on body language. I mean, if people are leaning forward or if people are sitting like this, it is easy to think like, oh, maybe I don't have them. And so as a performer, I think you have to look through that and say like, whose eyes are up, who's like nodding along, who is leaning over and tapping and pointing and smiling, and then you can at least read those cues that people are giving you.
A lot of times people are leaning over like, look how good his hair is today.
It is.
You're having an amazing hair day.
It's decent today.
It's really good, yeah.
But I think to be able to read your audience, to know your audience is something that I'm big on, and really trying to see it as what you're doing on stage is a service to the audience, as opposed to like, this is a product and a commodity. This is actually a service. So, especially when I was in Straight No Chaser, there would be times after the shows that we would really get to know and meet our audiences, and they would say like, hey, our family has been going through this tough time. This was the first time in recent memory where we've been able to put that down and just have a good time as a family.
Oh, cool.
Or I remember we sang in a town next to Newtown after the school shooting at Sandy Hook, and we sang a specific song by Coldplay called "Fix You," and there wasn't a dry eye in the house or even on stage. It was like one of the coolest moments for me to know that music was part of the healing process for a lot of those families that were not directly impacted by it, but lived in that community and were certainly they carried that weight and that burden, and music helped alleviate a lot of what was going on in their life. And so for me, I think that music can be a platform and a bridge to help a lot of amazing things happen.
Yeah.
And when it's not, I bought a ticket, I paid for this, and I'm out. But when there's the connection between the artist or the performer or even the leader, it doesn't have to be like you're a musician. Like if you're in a leadership platform and you're serving your base of people, I really think that you need to know your audience. You have to. And it doesn't mean like every single thing about them, but what makes them tick? What are they into? How is what I'm doing impacting them, and vice versa? Yeah. And then doing that more and more and more.
Yeah. So one of the things that you have always done really well, whether it's playing in a coffee shop like we did back in the day,
many moons ago.
Yeah. Or whether it was walking on a major stage or doing a PBS special or being on Good Morning America or all the amazing things you did. What tips do you have for someone who is going to take the stage, either as a performer or as a leader, coming in to talk to a company or investors? What do you think the keys are in those first couple of moments to making a really great first impression and capturing the attention?
I think That's a really, really good question. You have an
because you do it great, right?
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think eye contact is so huge. I think the ability to remain yourself, and eye contact just establishes trust immediately. And so when we would be performing like on the Today Show or Good Morning America or whatever it was, like treating the camera as though that's one person.
Right.
That's not multiple thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, because
Right.
that can be terrifying.
Yeah.
Even for someone who loves to perform, that can be terrifying. But saying that's one person and having in your mind who you're really trying to impact, kind of creating maybe a characteristic of your audience that you really like tapping into, and saying that's the person that I'm performing for.
Yeah. Now, did you put on, because there's some debate around how do you show up authentically, and
Yeah.
how do you, or do you need to be a character? Like, did you,
Right.
when you would do your kind of pregame before you
Mm-hmm.
would take the stage, did you have kind of a persona that you brought onto stage, or did you find that showing up just kind of authentically and being in the moment served you best, or what was kind of your strategy around how you showed up in that room?
I don't know if it was necessarily like a character that I put on. There were moments where to play into that too much, you can become a caricature of yourself, and that's where, in my opinion, I don't think that's at least where I don't want to be.
Right.
I do want people to feel like I know that guy, even though I may not everything that's going on.
Yeah.
He's real, he's sincere, he's authentic, like
Yeah.
he's funny, but to just always be like the funny guy, even when I'm not feeling being funny. I feel
Right,
like
so
I'm
you
so
don't want
much
to get
funnier
into
when
that
I'm just natural.
boy band role assignment.
Right,
where
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like the
You're
cute
the
one, or
quiet
the
one, or
right,
any of that.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But pregame was just, who are we performing for? Like, who's going to be enjoying this?
Yeah.
And how can we make them enjoy this more? Like, what can we do to prep and rehearse that there's going to be moments to draw people in? Like, anytime someone leans in, I think is a really good signal that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And so that's tricky when you don't have a direct audience to be able to see, like when you're performing for a TV audience as opposed to like a live audience that's right there
Right.
in front of you. It's harder to read when you don't have the direct impact. But when you can see someone smile or laugh or something, you're like, all right, we're doing something. You want to keep an audience right there.
Right.
Part of the hard part is getting them there in the first place. I think it's even harder
Taking them
to
along,
get them
yeah.
and keep them there.
Yeah.
And so I'm big on like reading rooms and just adapt. It's less like never blame the audience.
Right.
You're the one to blame. If you're looking for someone to point
It's
the fingers
always
at,
your fault.
It's always you.
Yeah.
It's either you did something great or you bombed. We were talking earlier about when you do bomb, never letting the audience know unless it's going to take the show to the next positive level where we're all in this together.
You
We
can
just
goof
saw
on
it
yourself and do
Right.
a do-over and bring them along in that experience.
Totally.
And authentically own that faux pas. or
One thing that we did
misstep.
incredibly well in Straight No Chaser, and I think the group still does very well, is just self-deprecating humor.
Yeah.
Self-deprecation just helps people kind of go, oh,
Right.
like, oh, me too. They can laugh at themselves just like I can, and I can laugh at them. And so embracing where the performance goes, I think, was something that is more of an art than a science.
Yeah.
And I was sharing a story with you earlier. The first time I sang on a cruise ship after college, had never even set foot on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And it's my first job out of school. And we have a show that first night. And the cruise director is like, okay, we want you to, the instant after I say your group name, we want you to come out from two different sides of the stage and start singing immediately. We're like, great, got it.
Yeah.
And so we rehearse it goes great, and then the night of the performance, what we didn't know is that the cruise director was going to say our name, and then unbeknownst to us, the orchestra behind him was going to play us on.
As an orchestra does from time to time.
So
yeah.
we're the band though. We're like an a cappella group, so it's like you are the music. You either make or break based on whoever comes in and sings the part. I told my buddy John, here's the pitch, hum it the entire time. Don't lose it. I look at John from the other side of the stage when he hears the orchestra play us on in a completely different key. Like, we're supposed to be here and they're just all over the place. And John looks terrified and he bombs it. Which then we have to follow where he goes. And so
keep you in frame here.
we didn't mention it. We didn't say, oh, by the way, did you catch how we just came in on a completely wrong part? The audience didn't even know.
Right.
And I think that's the trick, is like when you do scrub as a performer, as a leader, as a presenter, you can, I tell high school kids in choir this, I tell volunteers with Young Life in this, it's like,
Right.
if you're going to fail, don't let people know unless actually that would make it better and bring the people in.
Right,
more.
create a little warmth by owning the
Right.
syrup.
I screwed up, totally blew that, wasn't
Right.
that funny,
Right.
But yeah, you can't let the audience see you sweat.
Yeah.
I really think, and some people want to go, I just screwed up.
Right.
No. Own that screw up and make it something better. It's like in jazz, it's like a wrong note can actually be turned into an amazing note.
Right,
to
like it could be intentional.
Yeah.
As far as the audience knows.
Yep, that's right. And no one has to know, and no one's none the wiser. So.
Awesome. Okay, let's do one last final tip for somebody who is going to be on a stage or performing or be the center of attention.
Yeah.
And they might have a little anxiety about it. What would be just one quick tip that you could give them that you think will help elevate their game?
From like a physical standpoint, like the deeper I breathe and the more like the more that I can take in literal air, the better.
Yeah.
And so breathing, I think, is so huge when you're like super tense and it's all up here.
Yeah.
People read that and they get anxious. Like
Yeah.
I get anxious around other anxious people. Like I just want you to breathe.
Yeah.
And so as a performer, just getting a full body of breath, I think, is so basic but so often overlooked.
Right.
I know sometimes I have to deal with that. Like I get nerves before any show that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's good nerves. It's not debilitating
Right.
nerves. And so I think just focusing on your breath is huge. Gosh, and then
Sorry,
it's
we're,
okay.
we're gonna. Oh, hey. Oh, wait, are we
There we
still
go.
on?
Oh, no, that's
there-
Kirsten.
There's Kirsten. She was handling my camera.
Our awesome camera operator.
All right.
She's doing great. It's
Yeah.
her first day out of school.
Yeah, this is her first summer
I
vacation,
love it.
and I'm already putting her to work.
Hello.
So,
Hi, we're back.
Yes.
The question
Welcome to real
was,
life.
what can you do when, as you're preparing to get on stage, what
Yes.
can you do to get yourself at ease?
Yeah.
I think making eye contact. So often, like, people don't want to break the third
Right.
or the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Where you don't want to engage with the audience. And it's like, no, you're there to engage with the audience.
bring them in, invite them
Yes,
in, right? Take them on the
absolutely.
ride.
Like, look people
Oh my gosh.
in.
You're fired. Let go.
Look people in the eye.
Right.
Not for too long though.
There.
Don't like overstare.
Right, like
But
the creeper,
smile,
intrusive. Yeah.
Smile. Like Lauren and I my wife Lauren and I, we were in this 90s cover band called Mixtape. We had a show last night. There were a ton of people that we knew there. There were a ton of people that we had no clue who they were.
Right.
But I'm waving and I'm like looking over and I'm making eye contact and like
Acknowledging people want to feel seen, heard, and
Yes.
valued, right?
Come on.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not like the attention needs to be on them. Like I think that's so often overlooked is that as a performer, you are there to serve your audience. You're there to serve your audience.
Yeah.
You are not the point. You're not. Like even like the top performer, like the Bruno Marses of the world.
Right.
Like they're still there to make those people in the audience feel like that was the best show that I've ever seen, but it's also the best time I've ever had.
Yeah.
And so I think it is more of an art than a science. I think there are practical things that you can totally do as a performer, but that depends also on the show that you're a part of or the medium that you're performing on or even the platform that you're on. This right now, Facebook
Yeah.
Live, is a
Which
stage.
is amazing,
It's a
yes.
stage. But also performing in front of 20,000 people as Bruno Mars is a stage.
Yeah.
So I think also performing in your own home, but not being a let me put it this way. You're not an actor in the stage of your home.
Right.
Like you need to be as real and authentic as a husband and dad. I want to be well known in my home
Right. Yeah.
than I do outside. If I'm more known outside my home than I am inside my home, something's wrong.
Right.
So I strive to be a great follower of Christ, dad, and husband. I'm sorry, follower of Christ, husband, dad first.
Yeah.
Then everything else.
Then you put your energy out to
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. So.
Awesome. Well, I love your tips. We're gonna scoot in here since it's moving again. But okay, so my
You're fine,
major takeaways from Ryan being the seasoned performer that he is to smile and connect with the audience.
Yep.
And to set yourself up for success by having, being well oxygenated, using good posture, really being prepared to perform, and making sure that anytime you perform, your goal is to serve the audience and to give them the best experience of their life.
Yep.
Is that good?
Very accurate.
All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us. Ryan's got a hungry wife at home. He's
I
going to
do.
take her food, and I don't want to stand in the way of that
Yeah.
because I've seen Lauren hangry, and it's not pretty.
Kirsten, thanks for filming.
Yeah. So thanks for filming,
That was
Kirsten.
really bad.
Thanks, friends.